Session. So hi everyone, welcome to this session, this breakout session here where our focus is on minimizing disruptions while achieving faster time to value. We've partnered with this session with source of experts Fluxym, so thanks very much for them for this. My name is Niko Nurmi. I'm a senior research analyst within the Procurement Leaders Research and Advisory team, and I'll be the host of today's session. But I'm very excited to welcome our panel of experts here on the call. So we have Neishaboory from Fluxym, Ed Aviles from Basware, and then Nathan Ford from Wieland, North America. So we're going to start with a brief round of introductions. Newsha, would you mind going first, please?
Sure, not a problem. Thank you. So my name is Neishaboory. I am the head of the Basware practice lead at Fluxym, North America. I've been with Fluxym for over 2 years, and as far as my past experience, I've had various roles as far as source to pay. I've done buying, I've done RFPs, I've been a business analyst, implementations with various solutions. So that's my background there. Very excited to be here today.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Newsha. Why don't we go to Ed next?
Sure. Thanks everyone for joining us. I'm Ed Aviles. I'm one of the global business advisors here at Basware. Very similar to Newsha, my background comes from P2P. Having worked as an analyst, as a buyer, a category manager, a P2P operations manager. I've cut my teeth, quite frankly, on the procurement side of the house. And now a former member of the professional services team here at Basware and a current member of our advisory team. I help with best practices and some of the things that we've seen out in the real world.
Perfect, thank you, Ed. And then Nathan, your turn.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Nathan Ford. I'm the Director of Accounting Services and Systems for Wieland, North America. I've been with Wieland for about 6 years. Prior to that, I had various controllership and roles, as well as spent a fair amount of time in public accounting doing financial statement audits. And excited to be here and share our experience with you.
Excellent, thank you very much, Nathan. So in just a moment, we're going to get going with our conversation, and this group of experts will be sharing their experiences in how to, like I said, minimize disruptions and how to use technology in doing that. So I just wanted to quickly remind you again of the Q&A format here. So we have the chat function on the right-hand side, interactive panel there. So please do post your questions throughout the session as they come to your mind, and we'll save some time at the end of the session to go through some of those. So let's get going. I'd like to start with Nathan, if you don't mind. So I know that talking with you earlier that you've gone through quite a detailed transformation on technology side and adopted technology to really help your organization become much more kind of better and resilient. So would you just quickly walk through your story in implementing these technologies?
Sure. We started the implementation process, I guess it was in the spring of 2019 with Fluxym and Basware. We had selected from a variety of different vendors and ultimately went with Basware with their solution and some of the offerings that they had. Fluxym was our integration partner, so we worked with Newsha and her team on implementing the solution for our business. We went live in January of 2020 and started to experience some of the benefits. Prior to going with Basware, we were using a lot of scanned technology, so we had a lot of invoices emailed to a centralized inbox. We used a SharePoint system to kind of track status of invoices, but it required a lot of touch and retouch and a lot of follow-up and as well as a lot of just still had to do a lot of processing on transactions. So we were looking for a way to identify opportunities to streamline those touch points, get away from using a kind of a clunky, as I would say, SharePoint system. Looking for ways to create automation, which is what the Basware solution and the Basware network enabled for us to do. So, we worked with Fluxym, got the implementation, and went live in January. Obviously, all of that was pre-COVID. And so, our intentions of going that direction and implementing Basware, didn't take into account a global pandemic. We didn't have that level of foresight at the time, but now that we're in this, we're seeing ancillary benefits from it. Having implemented it, and being live with it now, we see additional benefits that we could have never envisioned when we first embarked on this journey.
Thank you, Nathan. I'm surprised the technologies currently can't anticipate pandemics popping up in the near future. That's probably the next iteration of tech development. Then, Newsha, I'd like to hear your side of the story, if you will, on how you at Fluxym help companies in the kind of S2B implementation.
Sure. So yeah, we normally accompany the clients. We have a very structured methodology that allows us to be very successful in the delivery of our projects. With Fluxym, I think I've had over at least 12 Basware projects. And I think our strength is being able to guide the clients and be able to provide them with guidance as far as best practice, standardize their processes to be able to implement a solution that's as close to standard to possible, right, and to best practice. So yeah, most of our clients were very good with the multi-phase, with the design. We accompany them through every stage. They're very implicated. Always helps when you have a great team like the Wieland team, who was very participant, and they were all very knowledgeable. So yeah, generally our methodology really helps. Obviously, with the current living conditions that we have, we had to make a few adjustments. We used to be very hands-on and see our clients face to face and travel. Obviously, we've had to adjust a little bit how we've been working, but it's been working well. I mean, we've been able to pull through a few go lives through the pandemic, so we've been able to adjust very well.
Thank you very much, Newsha. Actually, just before joining this session, I was on a breakout where we specifically spoke of travel management. So that's perhaps something that we can get back to on how you're actually then making sure that the implementation projects run in a virtual environment. But before that, just want to hear from Ed that what are some of the, I guess, best practices from your experience that you think procurement organizations should be considering in implementations such as the one we've been discussing here?
I think it's the tried and true trifecta of people, process, and platforms. And I'm really happy to hear Newsha speak about kind of understanding where customers like Nathan want to be. And of course, it always helps when you have a customer who knows where they want to go, right? In this day and age where, BCP or these business continuity plans have become the new normal, really rethinking your business model and your function and aligning it to the appropriate platforms has become critical. So certainly I would agree with everything that has been said and add in that, regardless of where you are in your P2P journey, getting a good handle on people, process, and the platforms that will enable your business outcome, I think is pivotal.
Absolutely, yeah. Nathan, you mentioned there's been obviously benefits from having implemented technologies already before the pandemic kicked in, but would you mind sharing a bit more about how you then, what are the actual concrete benefits that you were able to reap from having technology in place during the pandemic?
Yeah, sure. So, as I mentioned, we went down this path pre-pandemic, without having any thoughts of it. And it was really about creating the automation and reducing the touch points. As we've gotten through this pandemic, there a couple of key items I would say. One is, we have greater visibility to where our invoices are in process. When they were in SharePoint, if we didn't have a goods receipt entered into the system, or if there wasn't a PO attached to it, or it hadn't had an approval, it would kind of sit in a SharePoint site. We didn't know when things were going to occur, or when it might get approved. So now with Basware, we know where it is, we know who it's assigned to. We can follow up on it. We can see its age. It's aging for us, so we know how long it's been there. We know when it's due. There's various analytics and reports that we can run that give us visibility to kind of the cash needs. And so as you think about this pandemic, I think one thing that a lot of companies have experienced is, business slowed, right? And so the need to manage cash, the need to manage spend became extraordinarily important. And so the automation enabled us to reduce our headcount. We had 4 AP processors. We cut that down to 2. So that was, there's cost savings involved there, and which helps as we try to tighten up and protect our earnings. The second part is, the cash flow management. Now we have better visibility, better line of sight. It reduced what I call the invoice dump. Where you get 2, 3, 4, 500 invoices approved, because everybody knows that you run checks on Thursday. So, on Wednesday afternoon at 2 o'clock, which is, you have a 3 o'clock cutoff. At 2 o'clock, you get 300 invoices dropped into your AP queue, and you're trying to get all of those in, and everybody wants them paid on the next pay run, which is tomorrow. So it's given us the visibility to understand that, hey, you know what, we've got, there's 150 invoices in queue that are due this week, and so we can be more proactive, go after those purchasers, and kind of push on them to say, hey, we need you guys to get these things processed, get the invoices approved, get them coded, and get them back to us so that we can process those on your next pay run. So it's given us those benefits, and just like I said, the ability to have the line of sight to it, and be able to manage it, and have better control over the cash flow.
Yeah, that already the avoidance of the invoice dump, as you described, that already in itself seems to be a massive win, and something that people should really be thinking about. Newsha, I mentioned that virtual element and collaboration with your clients during this somewhat challenging time. So would you just mind walking us through a bit of how you might have had to adapt into this new normal, and how you're actually running through the implementation projects currently?
Sure. So pre-pandemic, we would be, for specific moments throughout the project, when we would design, so sit down and try to pick up all of the processes and how things work. We would normally be there face to face. We try to condense it, whether it be 2, 3, 4, 5 days, depending on the complexity. We would be face to face in a room and going at it all day. Now, with today's context, it makes it a little difficult to do that virtually full days. I think anyone can confirm 8 hours of nonstop information online doesn't have the same type of effectiveness as if when you're in person. So right now, what we're trying to do is that we break them out into smaller sessions per theme. So we're doing a lot of that and trying to keep it interesting and creative to make sure that everybody's still actively participating and that the information is being properly understood and said. So there's a lot of that going on. So we've basically changed the way and the frequency and the duration. So rather it being done throughout a week, we'll spread it out to 2 to 3 weeks. Still managing to get the job done, but just working it at a different angle.
Yeah, certainly some kind of agility needed in the current setup. Shifting our focus a bit to the future, I guess. So Ed, just a quick question on you, that what kind of trends are you seeing in coming up, and what kind of potential new improvements are you anticipating within Basware, for instance, in the coming years, perhaps because of the pandemic?
I think while at first we were helping some of our customers go from, this survival period to a recovery period, now our focus is really on helping our customers thrive. A lot of our attention is really in virtualizing the workplace. Certain tools like the teleconferencing tools that we're using today, right? They allow us to do a lot of the things that we can't do in person, as Newsha was describing. Basware is taking that same approach from a P2P perspective, and whether that is helping our customers attain savings, protect their supply chain with the information that we're able to gather from different ERP systems, or ensuring that suppliers get paid and get paid the right amount versus the duplicate amount, right? Because oftentimes when you're dealing in an environment that's very manual or perhaps works almost exclusively in the physical world, a lot of this stuff falls through the gaps. So Basware is being extremely sensitive to ensuring data accuracy, ensuring all information is centralized, regardless of where you are in your P2P journey. You'll notice from us there's going to be a significant amount of enhancing of data, a lot of use of new technologies like smart coding, where we try to predict what the coding on an invoice could be, which will actually extend to actual classification of that spend, even if it's not on a purchase order. Enabling our tools to work across any platform, regardless if you're on a cell phone, a tablet, a laptop like I am right now. And to be able to work from anywhere, because ultimately, at the end of the day, we need to be able to perform our duties from anywhere, right? Our business deliverables have not disappeared, even if our offices may have. We still need to achieve, and we're enabling our customers to be able to attain those achievements.
Certainly, perhaps not so as not to focus just on the kind of virtual elements, but kind of reminiscing on the time when we were able to kind of collaborate with our colleagues in a face-to-face setup. I'd like to ask Nathan that during the implementation phase, so perhaps thinking of procurement people here in the audience, for instance, what does that internal collaboration with, for example, with the procurement and finance look like when it comes to P2P implementation, specifically from your own kind of viewpoint?
Sure. So obviously, I was involved from the accounts payable aspect inside of the house, but I mean, we certainly had multiple of our buyers and purchasing agents involved in the implementation process. We had them attend the scoping sessions with Newsha and her team to make sure we understood what their needs were and what in terms of how the system was going to function and what their process was. We had them involved really throughout, not just in the scoping and design session, but also in the UAT. So as we went through testing, we had them go through the training and we had them participate because ultimately, it's a collaborative effort between payables and purchasing. So, we can't process invoices unless purchasing is doing things correctly in terms of setting up a PO and entering receipts on a timely basis and, making sure vendor, supplier, master files and records are updated, et cetera. So, just going through all of those, we made sure to partner with it. After we went live, we opened up kind of a bi-weekly touch point session with our purchasing group, just to talk about how's it working, right? Where are the pain points? And, are you getting too many notifications from the system? Or, do you know where to go? Or are you seeing, where's the pain? What are some of the things that you all are experiencing with it? And, we gathered that feedback and, if necessary, we went to Fluxym and Basware and said, hey, look, I think we need to tweak something in how the system's working or how the process is working. Can we make some minor modifications to lessen the impact and make it run a little bit smoother for our purchasing group? So, it was a mutual benefit. I mean, obviously the primary benefit when we went into it was for the payables group, right? And to lessen the processing impact on it. But, there were benefits that we could sell to the purchasing team to be able to say, hey, look, you can access this application on your phone, right? So instead of having to go and be at your desk and log into the computer and get into the SharePoint site or, pull up your email and go to this invoice, now you can be out on the plant floor and you can pull up your phone and, approve an invoice or code an invoice right there while you're standing around, or sitting at a doctor's office or, whatever the case may be. So it granted them some flexibility as well. So, that helped us to kind of sell them and get them on board and get them engaged in the process as well. So it's been a good benefit for both sides of the house.
Perfect, thank you, Nathan. And you can certainly see the immediate benefits of having that information at your fingertips, especially in this current time. There's been a couple of questions on the chat here, so I'm going to start with a question from Nicole, where the question is, have there been any challenges with suppliers adapting to some of the innovative changes that may have affected them and how they've been managed? So I'll ask this from Newsha. just your thoughts on this question and how suppliers might have been. What kind of considerations have you potentially had to make to kind of keep suppliers on the loop?
It actually hasn't been that big of a challenge in a sense where I think suppliers ultimately want to get paid, especially in the past few months, right? Everybody's been struggling to try to get their cash flow. So the adoption has actually been pretty well. We've done a lot of campaigns with various clients to get their suppliers on board to send electronical invoices. And they've seen the benefits from that because as soon as they onboard for that, it's literally takes them 5 minutes to sign up. And then once they do that, the system hits the system, the invoice hits the system within 10 minutes, goes through the process, and they see their payments being issued a lot quicker. So as far as challenges, I haven't seen for my part that many of them. People have actually been very collaborative.
Yeah, really good to hear. Just from I guess broader reaching considerations within like technology adoption within procurement, for instance. So there traditionally might have sometimes been challenges with for instance, getting some tenders out to suppliers if there's not been enough communication, for instance. So that's obviously a consideration for organizations implementing technology, but obviously the right partners really help with overcoming any of those challenges. Another question from Adriana, which I'm going to ask from Ed. So what has been the best out of the pandemic that your company could be proud of and share about? Ed, your views on this?
You know, it's funny. As a bit of a technologist myself, and as a person who is fully entrenched in all things digital and converting things to digital, one of the things that we commonly hear is how we can reduce headcount and actually, you know, save organizations money that way. But one of the, you know, pleasantly surprising things about this situation, a silver lining, if you will, is that we've actually been able to protect jobs, right? People have been able to do their duties from anywhere. You know, when we were talking to Nathan prior, he was mentioning how they had electronic invoices, but they didn't have them in one place. And having them in one place gives them that ability to do their duties from anywhere. And I find that to be refreshingly pleasant, right? The fact that although we do need to reduce headcount, and that will always be the case, and technology is there to do that. In these uncertain times, we're able to at least protect the companies to that next level, right? To that, getting them from that survival to that thriving part of this recovery.
Thank you, Ed. Perhaps want to hear Fluxym's view on this same question. So what are you seeing as one of the kind of proud moments in the current time?
Well, personally, as I said, throughout the past few months, I've been actively working on specific implementations, and I could see the benefits right now for the clients. I've had some clients that had to pause due to everything that's been going on. And literally when we picked right back up, they just said, man, we wish we had this a few months ago. So to be able to help them in that process and get them to where they need to be is probably one of the best parts of my job.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Just within the last couple of minutes, just for the audience, please do keep the questions coming up. Perhaps just a thought from Nathan, from where you are currently, what might be the next steps within your technology journey, if you will?
Yeah, so I mean, for us, you know, we are, it's part of North America. So I was previously with one of the subsidiaries, Roll Products, Wieland Roll Products, which was part of North America. I'm now with North America. So when we did the implementation, we did it for the Roll Products business unit. We've got about 9 other business units that we need to, that we're looking at, you know, rolling Basware out and across all of the business units. We're focused right now on creating a centralized accounting services or shared services accounts payable group. So, you know, that's going to be the next phase for us is implementing Basware across all of the business units in North America. That way we can create that centralized process and have a central processing center. And then, you know, the other piece is, you know, we as an organization are you know, we're acquisition focused. And so we've been looking at how do we add on companies and especially right now, there's a lot of companies that are looking to get out of their business or sell and are stressed and looking for someone to acquire them. So, as we go through these acquisitions, one of the things we're looking for is, how do we create quick synergies and quick wins? Well, from a technology standpoint, we can integrate Basware onto an organization within 3 to 6 months. Whereas, bringing them into our ERP system, can take 12 to 18 months. So we can deliver faster results and streamline processes by adding those organizations onto us quickly, and be able to absorb some of that workflow and create the standardization and again, get all the same benefits that we were getting at Rolled Products, which is visibility to invoices. We can automate the processing and posting of invoices. And it can do it, regardless, because we've got 9 different ERP systems. So, we're talking about, getting all of our North America business units that exist today into one ERP package is probably a 5 to 10 year project. Whereas, we can do Basware in a couple of years and have it over all of them and create that centralized processing and centralized function. So that's the next phase for our journey.
Perfect. That's really exciting stuff that you're sharing there, Nathan. I'm just gonna start wrapping things up here within this session. So I'm just gonna have a really quick kind of summary of recommendations from Ed. What would you want the audience to leave with after this session if they are thinking about kind of P2P implementation?
I would certainly recommend that they align the platforms that they're going to be using in the future with the new business model, right? The way of doing things before, just digitizing, just automating is that first step. Taking that raw data and turning it into something meaningful, being able to give end users access at all times. That's going to become the new normal, and that new normal, not coincidentally, will also feed the information that your leaders will in essence need to make informed strategic decisions. So certainly that rethinking and realignment of both business process and platforms.
Perfect, thank you, Ed. Same question for Newsha. Key summaries.
Totally agree with Ed on that aspect. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I have nothing else to say. He took the words right out of my mouth.
Good kind of synergy of thought there. Well, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for this session. Thank you everyone for attending, and thanks for our great group of panelists here for sharing your insights and your experiences on this interesting topic. The next session at the Americas Procurement Congress Virtual will be on the main stage, so please make your way back there after this session. And again, thank you everyone. Thank you ever so much to Nathan, Ed, and Newsha for sharing today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate the time.
Thank you all.